Kirstine, you've had a number of leadership roles over your very successful career.
Yeah.
So many lessons learned. I'm sure so many ups and downs. What are some of the highlights?
Well, I think it's been interesting because I have been on this course, this journey for some time, and I have my own self not been always a boss. I have had a lot of bosses over the time because I worked my way up. I literally started from the bottom, as I like to say. So I had good bosses and I've had bad bosses. And
right.
I think you learn equally from both kinds of leaders. And I think as a leader myself, what I've learned is the importance of really depending on a great team around you. And people say that all the time, but when you try to go alone, or you try to, when you think that you can do it on your own and by yourself, there is a huge difference between what you can accomplish as an individual compared to what you can accomplish as part of a big team. And a big part of leadership has to do with your ability to motivate and influence that group around you so that they see the same vision you're seeing and that they get excited about it. And because when all oars are rowing in the same direction, you really do accomplish so much more. Like it's sometimes I think leaders presume they have to step out, take credit, take blame, take whatever, take charge. And whereas it's important that there is a single view, that single view has to be informed, I think, it's best formed when there's a group of people who actually contribute to that vision.
A lot of this culminated in you writing Our Turn,
right.
your
Yeah,
book,
absolutely.
Very successful book.
Yeah.
What prompted that?
Well, I think there was this sense that, again, a lot of people, and we all see the numbers, and it gets very depressing sometimes. We see that the needle is not moving fast enough when it comes to either women in leadership positions or just gender diversity and other diversity overall in leadership positions, whether it's within a business, entrepreneurship, at the boardroom table.
Yeah, the gaps are huge.
The gaps are big, and the projections of how long it's going to take before they can actually close those gaps, we're going to be long gone by that time. But I do see opportunity, and I think the book came about because I wanted to share my story in any way that it was helpful to others, to see that you didn't have to be or act like the typical corner office, three-piece suit guy declaring his leadership. And in this new world where influence is different, the pace of business is so much quicker, businesses define success differently than they did before.
Waves of disruption are coming
Absolutely.
fast and hard.
It requires a different set of skills. And that set of skills is not necessarily inherent in that three-piece business suit guy, sitting in the corner office. It could be resident in each of us. So I think Our Turn is that opportunity to step up and actually lead in a way that's different, because if businesses define success differently, then I think leadership also needs to be looked at differently.
Well, one of the roles that you had at CBC was very transformational.
Yeah, the first thing that I did, I was the head of television for a while, so I got to see some of the inner workings and what was and what wasn't working so well. And when I moved to the bigger job of being responsible for television and radio and online, I suddenly realized there's a separate digital division, which is a lot of companies do that. They set up a separate digital division.
And it was early days of digital.
Yeah,
right?
you need to focus on it. It's a project. But the dangers of keeping something in a siloed position and being a separate project meant that the information wasn't transferring, the knowledge wasn't being spread. So kind of counter to what you think would be the first move someone would make when they take over that kind of role, I disbanded the digital division. And there's a lot of question about it, but yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Digital is where it's at. That's our future. Absolutely. It's so much our future that everybody should be thinking about it. This digital division is not a division. It's actually what we all do. It's a 360 view of how we look at how we do our jobs. We need to do it in this digital environment. We're no longer linear. We're no longer one-way communication. So by taking the head of sports digital and putting them in the sports team, taking the head of news digital, putting them in the news team, that it really opened up the opportunities, I think, for innovation, for knowledge, for growth. And it prepared.
But you must have had a lot of skeptics, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Any move at the CBC
what was
has a lot
the
of
number
skeptics.
one way you tackle the skeptic?
Well, I think you have to just do it, essentially. And I think the best way to move quickly is to move quickly to some form of project that can bring some success.